I don't just talk about other people's stuff, I also make my own. Books in particular. To date, I have 4 books you can check out on Amazon. Operation Red Dragon: The Daikaiju Wars Part 1, Occult Mafia, Emerald of Maddox City, and the short story collection Assorted Absurdities, Tales of Kaiju Punk and Other Genres. Hop on down to the description for Amazon links to all 4 books. Enjoy whichever ones you read, and enjoy the video. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am the Omni viewer, and I'm here with a weird little bit of a MonsterVerse update. Something that I honestly don't think any of us were expecting. But in order to properly frame it, we must go way, way back to when the first images of Playmates' Godzilla vs. Kong line found their way onto the internet. And they were not very high quality. They were blurry, they were poorly lit, you could barely tell what was in them. They were so distorted in terms of what they were showing that for a while it actually had a lot of people thinking that maybe Mechagodzilla was gonna look like a giant metal Godzilla skeleton. It's images like these that make me think it's really no surprise that people still get blurry photos of cryptids and UFOs, because obviously it's possible to take a bad photo of anything, even in the day of high-definition cameras. But that's beside the point. The point is that in these images, there was one figure that was a bit of an anomaly. It looked like a larger-scale Godzilla figure, but for some reason it had a bizarre, almost metallic-looking cage over the dorsal fins, and possibly a few things on the head and on the sides. Again, it was really hard to tell, but clearly this was Godzilla with something extra attached to him. And a lot of people were wondering, well, wait a minute, what the heck is that? Is that somehow playing into what's going to be in the movie? And if so, how? Well, time passed, the movie came out, and Godzilla didn't have anything like what we saw in that figure attached to him in the movie. Some people got the idea that maybe it was some sort of scrapped early idea that was supposed to be in the movie, but during the reshoots or whatever, they put that aside and decided not to use it. But when we got the concept art book, we didn't see anything like that in there either. Maybe that stuff just wasn't included, but whatever the case, that figure still remained an anomaly. And when we finally did get the big Godzilla figure, which was considered to be in the mega scale, it came like this. It was big, all right, but it didn't have any extra attachments. It was just Godzilla. The only extra thing it came with were 2 of these little heat ray things that it could launch, and a little soldier figure about this big. Otherwise, it seemed like this was just the figure we were going to get without the attachments, and it's quite possible that it was completely forgotten up until now. And I say up until now because this image just appeared online, showing the quote-unquote Titan Tech versions of Godzilla and Kong that will be coming out at some point. I don't know when, but at some point. And these are clearly versions of both Godzilla and Kong wearing some really weird anime-looking armor. Armor that doesn't look like it really should attach to anything. And in fact, these are actually transforming figures. As you can see, they have this thing where they are, like panels of their legs and arms can flip around to reveal the armor, and their bodies themselves can come apart so that these different things can come out of them. It's a very interesting choice, to say the least. Now, a lot of people have been looking at this, and those of us who were old enough to remember immediately think of things like when Trendmasters had the rights to the Godzilla toys, and they released the power-up figures. Specifically, that was where Godzilla, Rodan, Mecha King Ghidorah, and Mechagodzilla all got reimagined as to have these different armor parts that they could wear. Or you could just take them off and have the figures be pristine, but you were supposed to put the armor on them. In fact, the Mechagodzilla was based on the painted poster for Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2. So there's a fun little bit of trivia right there. I had 3 of them. Rodan was the only one I didn't have. Unfortunately, I could never find him in the stores. But I have the other 3 packed away somewhere. Now, that does come to mind, of course. Other people have been thinking of the unreleased Doom Island figures, some of which had those panels that were supposed to flip around and make the monsters not look like they were wearing armor, but certainly look more mutated in some way. At the same time, though, I also think of certain older Power Rangers figures because of the way this is done, where the body is sort of open to reveal these things. I can specifically remember some figures where there were panels on the chest and back that could flip open because their special feature was morphing, basically, where you had 2 heads on a rotating axis. One of them had the helmet, the other one had the unhelmeted head that looked like the actor in the show. And, you know, that was an interesting feature back when I was a kid. I had a couple of those. And, well, either way, it's a very retro-looking kind of figure, retro for the 90s at least. It's amazing to think that's considered retro now. But all the same, that's sort of what we're looking at here. And yes, I realize these figures look kind of weird. Based on these promo images, it doesn't look like the armor actually attaches to anything. It is kind of a weird-looking design. Godzilla's spines look a little more triangular, like they're the 2014 versions. And Kong has a helmet that gives him sunglasses and a little microphone by his mouth, as if he's somehow able to talk. Very unusual. And yet, I do wonder... Well, here's where I'm going to get into a little bit of speculation. This is 100% purely me just spitballing, throwing things out there, because I don't have any evidence to back this up. I'm just wondering if maybe there could be a connection somewhere, and I don't say in any capacity that I think this is actually true. Though if it does turn out to be true, you heard it here first. I'm thinking about how these images appeared just a few days after it was announced that a MonsterVerse video game is in the works. And we're not talking about like one of those Candy Crush style mobile games you play on your phone, or a tie-in with a pre-existing franchise like Call of Duty. No, we're talking about a full-blown actual MonsterVerse game set after the events of Godzilla vs. Kong, that will somehow be tied into that story. It's an officially licensed video game, like what fans have been clamoring for years. Possibly. We don't really know what kind of game it is at this point. It could be a fighting game like the Godzilla Destroy All Monsters Melee games that Atari released. It could be more of a human-based game like City Shrouded in Shadow. It could be something completely different, like a top-down real-time strategy, or a round-based tournament game, or something like that. Who knows? I mean, I hope it's not a dating sim, but anyway. Point is, we get that announcement, and then we get these images, and if I'm being honest, Tech Titan Godzilla and Kong kind of look like they belong in a video game. They also kind of look like they belong in like a Marvel comic book movie. Like, I'm getting serious Thor vibes from that version of Kong's axe. But either way, I could imagine these looking like alternate video game skins or something. So, again, I have no proof that this is the case, but I do wonder if maybe there's a connection. In all likelihood, this is probably just Playmates making toys because they look cool as toys. Or at least in theory they look cool. Like I said, the images look a little weird to me, but I recently learned from their Toho series Rodan not to judge a figure by its promo image. Even so, I do wonder. I have no proof of anything. I am not saying that this is actually the case. I just wonder. In all likelihood, this is probably just something they thought would be cool, that they thought would sell, and that's probably all it's going to wind up being. Though again, if it does wind up being in the video game, I get bragging rights. Not that I think I'll actually have them. Anyway, that's the odd announcement that nobody was expecting. I will be keeping my eyes out for these things. I live in an area that for some reason doesn't seem to always get the new figures in a timely manner, if at all. But I will be keeping my eyes out for them, and hopefully they look better than they do in these pictures. But we will see. Yeah, that's just the weird little bit of news nobody knew was coming. And I'm just reporting it because I thought you guys would be interested to know. Until such time as we meet again, this is the Omni Viewer signing off. Congratulations, you reached the end. If you enjoyed this video, you might want to consider supporting us on Patreon. Of course, the other way to support us is to go to Amazon and check out our books, Operation Red Dragon, The Daikaiju Wars Part 1, The Occult Mafia, Emerald of Maddox City, and Assorted Absurdities, Tales of Kaiju Punk and Other Genres. Also check the description for links to DeviantArt and other platforms we operate. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time.